Conventional or classical computers are built from billions of transistors that are turned on or off to represent a value of either 1 or 0. In turn, this allows classical computers to store and process data using binary digits or bits. In contrast, quantum computers process information using quantum bits or qubits that can be represented by superconducting electronic circuits. Due to the strange laws of quantum mechanics, qubits could exist in more than one state or superposition at exactly the same point in time. This allows a qubit to assume a value of 1 or 0 or both of these numbers simultaneously. In turn, this enables a quantum computer to process a far higher number of data possibilities than a classical computer. In addition to assuming superpositions, qubits can become entangled. Entanglement is another quantum mechanical property and means that the state of one qubit can depend on the state of another. This is useful and powerful as it means that observing one qubit can reveal the state of its unobserved pair. Creating, sustaining, manipulating, and error-correcting qubits is very hard indeed. But significant progress does continue to be made. So, let's now turn to the work of today's quantum computing pioneers.
The pineal is located at the bottom of the transverse grooves of the brain, directly under the rolla of the corpus callosum, between the upper mounds of the roof of the midbrain. It is tightly covered by a soft shell of the brain, apennular forks, forming a dorsal and ventral plate, separated by the pineal interval, the abdominal plate fused with the back spikes, while the spinal cord continues beyond the spike, closely adhering to the epithelium of the roof. At the point of attachment to the visual thalamus, the dorsal plate is thickened, forming stria medullaris thalami, strip epiphysis. This thickening is a bundle of fibers of the pole vault and central olfactory tract. Between brain strips at the rear end there is a transverse commissure, commissura habernularum, in which the fibers of the strips partially overlap, achieving positocnogo, the nucleus of the optic hill. Inside the pineal is made up of closed follicles surrounded by connective tissue racemini. The follicles are filled with epithelial cells mixed with calcareous matter, brain sand, acephalus cerebri. Calcareous deposits are also found in the leash along the epiphysis and vascular plexus. The function of the pineal is unknown. Descartes believed that the pineal gland is the seat of the spirit. In reptiles there are two pinealides, front and rear. The rear remains undeveloped, and the front forms a rudimentary cyclopean eye. The New Zealand tuatara lizard speaks from the parietal hole, and has an imperfect crystalline lens in the retina, and the long leash contains nerve fibers. The pineal gland of humans, probably homologous to the rear of the pinealide of reptiles. The pineal gland contains the smallest sand, about the role which modern science is not known virtually nothing. Studies have shown that this substance does not have children up to about 7 years, people weak-minded and generally somehow suffering from a lack of mental organization. Occultists know that this sand is the key to the spiritual consciousness of man. He is the connecting link between mind and body. H.P. Blavatsky wrote in The Secret Doctrine, "This sand is very mysterious and baffles the research of all materialists. This is the only sign of internal self-activity of the pineal gland, prevents the physiologists classify it as absolutely useless atrophied organ." Here, the Twink, Grading and Gama were wise people of this generation, and today, too, are such, as they still are the only physiologists, summing up the facts that they, grains of sand, are absent in small children, the elderly and the feeble-minded, made inevitable the conclusion that they, grains of sand, should be associated with the mind. E. R. Rurick in a letter to Dr. Ayasif wrote, a luminous substance, as if the sand observed on the surface of the pineal gland in human development. This sand is the mysterious substance which is adjournment of mental energy. Deposits of psychic energy can be found in many organs and nerve channels. Currently histochemical found the structure of brain sand, Shmatov SV, SSMU, Tomsk, the synthesis of scientific and esoteric knowledge of the pineal gland. Published, Medicine of the Future in the Light of the Synthesis of the Scientific Worldview of the East and the West, Medical Scientific Practical Conference, the 1st of May 2, 1998, Abstracts of Papers and Reports, Tomsk, 1998, is 40 to 45, grit size varies from 5 microns to 2 millimeters, often resemble mulberry berries, so they have a scalloped edge, consists of organic base, colloid, which is considered a secret of pinealocytes, impregnated with salts of calcium and magnesium, mainly phosphates. Method Rentgen-Ocurogichesko analysis showed that calcium salts on diffractogram epiphysis similar to the crystals of hydroxyapatite. Emphasis mine. The brain of a grain of sand in polarized light detects birefringence to form an Maltese cross. An optical anisotropy indicates that the crystals of the salt deposits of the epiphysis are not crystals. The cubic system, due to the presence of calcium phosphate, grit primary fluoresce under UV light, like droplets of colloid, bluish-white glow. A similar blue fluorescence give the myelin sheath of nerve trunks. Usually salt deposits are in the nature of rings, layers, interspersed with layers of organic matter. More about brain sand scientists still unclear. Now, the interesting thing is that this sand contains in its composition calcium hydroxyapatite. That's what was discussed as one of the most suitable candidates for the role of the physical basis of the quantum computer. A striking coincidence, and probably not accidental, combining the data on the elemental basis of quantum computer with data about the biology of the pineal gland and the structure of the brain sand. Very interesting assumption. The pineal gland of the brain is a part of the quantum computer in our head, and brain sand is the quantum processor, the computer in our heads, quantum, with all its consequences, and therefore there is a direct relationship with spirituality, which is based on the use of quantum properties of this computer, psychic energy. A person has the ability to use magic non-local properties of entangled states of qubits to your quantum computer.
Okay, so there was a breaking news session and you talked about your research into Epstein-Barr virus in MS. Can you summarize your key findings from the research you conducted in a few sentences?
Yes. So what we did is we analyzed a very large cohort of patients with early multiple sclerosis, patients with a clinically isolated syndrome, and patients with relapsing remitting MS for the prevalence of Epstein-Barr virus by measuring antibodies against EBV. And what we found is that all patients with MS had antibodies against Epstein-Barr virus, meaning that there is 100% seroprevalence of Epstein-Barr virus in patients with multiple sclerosis. And we also looked for comparison at a large cohort of patients from a hospital population to analyze the seroprevalence in the general population. And as it already has been shown in many other studies, the seroprevalence in the general population in patients in the age range of patients of MS, 20 to 40, is about 95%, and in patients with MS it's 100%. So this is a clear difference, and this has basically been shown many times before. And what we could do, we could reproduce this data in a very large cohort of patients with MS.
So following your study, is there any, let's say, early understanding of how Epstein-Barr might influence MS progression or MS in general?
Yeah, this is, in my view, this is the question of all questions. It is unfortunately not yet known by which mechanism EBV is involved in the development of MS, but our data and a number of other studies clearly suggest that EBV might play a key role in the development of MS. There have a number of hypotheses been made, but I should say that so far the mechanism is still not clear.